It's pissed me off.
Why?
No, I don't mean Nick Newell fighting with one hand pissed me off, but how can you fight with one hand, but you can't fight with one eye?
They told you can't fight?
No, you can't. You can't fight with one eye.
But how? Like, I always wanted to ask you this: when was your vision first compromised? Was it after the? It was after the Vitor fight, right?
It was the Vitor fight that did it, and I slowly started getting symptoms. I was doing this a lot in restaurants. You know, restaurants are dark. Some of them. I was doing this. You know, and my friends would be like, "Oh, he's doing that thing again with his hands." I'm like, "Can you see your hand there if you do that?" And
but the people are just listening. You have your hand next to your face.
Yeah,
and you're
I'd be like
moving your fingers around, and you couldn't see it.
Yeah, exactly. And then by the end, it was like right in front of me there, and I couldn't see. And it was at that point, I called the doctor. But I fought Alan Belcher after the Vitor Belfort fight, and then as I say, as this was getting worse and worse and worse, I called the doctor and he said, "Yeah, you got a detached retina." They fixed that. It redetached. I got glaucoma. It was just bad luck. One thing after the other. Anything that could go wrong with an eye went wrong. Yeah.
How did you get to the point where you're fighting GSP? Like, how did you pass this test?
With great difficulty. Lying, cheating, bullshit codes. I fucking lied to so many doctors. Like I went to England. I was doing some work for BT Sport at the time. Dana was trying to help me out because it looked like I wasn't going to be fighting. You know, so I went over there doing some work for BT Sport, and you know, I was talking about fighting again. And they said, "Well, we want to take you to a doctor of our choice." So I said, "All right, cool, whatever." And I'm shitting my pants, you know. And I had to do this test where you look into this thing and there's all these lights, you know, and you push a button when you see the light pop up. And I just I passed it. I just fucking guessed it. I'm like, oh.
You just guessed it?
I guessed it and I passed, right?
Wow.
And then there was another one. They took me to see another doctor. And I went in, and this doctor was an old Indian guy, lovely, sweet man. And there was a guy in there, like an old war veteran, could hardly walk, like about 100 and something years old, very eccentric old gentleman. And this doctor says, "I'm just going to walk this man to the car, go into my office, make yourself at home." I'm like, fucking get in, because I walked in and the eye test was there. It was an old school one. It wasn't a digital one. It was like a triangle, you know, 3 sides to it. And all you've got to pass is, you've got to have 2200 vision to pass, which is still clinically blind. But on an eye test, it's the big one at the top and then the 2 underneath it, so still pretty big. So I'm like, okay, D, B, E, spin it round, C, D, E. So I remembered all 3. And the doctor doesn't know that I'm trying to cheat the test. He thinks I'm fucking trying to check on my vision like a normal person. You know what I mean? So he covers up my bad eye first. And he says, "What can you see?" Oh, D, D, da, 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 go through it all. Very good. And then he doesn't move it round. And he says, "Okay, what can you see there?" And that's where these couple of shitty acting lessons I had paid off. I'm like, D, C, E. I'm like, gets a little blurry after that, doc, if I'm honest. Couldn't see a fucking thing. And he's like, "Okay, you've passed." He said, "Listen, you've passed to fight." He said, "But I wouldn't fight." He said, "Because if anything happens to your good eye, you're going to go blind." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right, doc. Yeah, oh, well, I'll give it some thought. I'll talk to my family." Yeah. Oh God, what a situation, right? Yeah. And I walked. I was like, "Fucking come on," because it meant I was back.
Right.
But of course, then every time you fight, you're still gonna get checked by a doctor again every time at the weigh-ins. You know, so that was always very, very worrisome.
So how'd you pass those?
They just didn't check very good. I mean, I had a code with Perillo. He always came in with me. And I said, right, because all they've got to do, because now this is a prosthetic lens, as you know.
Right.
And I only got this in 2018. So without the prosthetic lens in, it looks awful. Do you know what I mean? It looks worse now than what it did back then. Over time, it's deteriorated and got worse and worse. But I thought all they've got to do is look at that eye and say, all right, how many fingers can you see? You know, so I said to Perillo, I said, if he holds up 1 finger, you go, if he holds up 2, yawn, whatever, if he holds up 3, we just came up with these shitty codes, you know what I mean?
Wow.
But we never had to use it once, because I remember once the doctor, when you can see out that eye, right? I said, yeah, of course I can. I said, I've got all the paperwork. Okay, cool.
Wow.
That was it. I was like, all right, sweet, cool.